All right, good afternoon, everyone. All right, my name is Gabrielle Stuckey, and I'm a junior business management student here at A&T, and I want to welcome you all to coming to the first Closing Bell speaker series of the semester. All right. We are thrilled to have you join us for today's event, which promises to offer valuable insights that could help shape our future careers. I encourage everyone to pay close attention to, as we are honored to have Dr. Keisha King with us today. Dr. King is the head of U.S. Education Strategy at T-Mobile, where she has played a pivotal role in the company's education and community outreach programs. She is a transformative leader with over 20 years of experience driving change in education and technology. Her work focuses on bridging the gap between education and the tech industry, particularly through T-Mobile's $10.7 billion initiative to expand access to technology for students across the nation. Dr. King's efforts have directly impacted over 6 million students by providing them with the critical connectivity and devices, helping to improve digital literacy and workforce development. She is also a passionate advocate for children's needs, serving on boards that shape the future of education and technology. As a 5-time Forbes published author, her insights into leadership, career development, and the intersection of technology and education are invaluable. We are incredibly fortunate to have Dr. King here with us today, and I encourage you all to take full advantage of this opportunity to learn from her experiences. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Keisha King.
So this is the fun part, and I left this remote. What's interesting is I usually get an opportunity to speak for short periods of time in a lot of places. This was an opportunity where I get to speak for a longer period of time, but I feel like it's so much more impactful because there's a lot of things that I've experienced and a lot of places that I've been that I think will help to shape some of the direction that you might want to go. I've been able to have some really good conversations today with other students, and they just happen to be sitting right here in the front. So I have Grow Already here. And Grow Already, this is the QR code to my LinkedIn, so please connect with me. Grow Already is kind of this motto that I put together. And it's because there's so many opportunities that we have to grow that we kind of stop ourselves for whatever reason. I tried to make this really simple. So I'm going to start off. Here you go. Thank you. So I'm going to start off with the kid. I think it's always important to know what the foundation of the person that you're listening to is, right? It's not just a T-Mobile journey. T-Mobile is kind of where I am now, which is exciting, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I have a journey that goes a lot deeper than just T-Mobile. When you hear 20 years experience, that there's a whole life and a whole, lot of obstacles that I've had to overcome to make it to where I am today. So the solo journey is where I want to start. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. My mom worked a lot. So there were a lot of elements of my childhood where I had to raise myself. Starting at 13 years old, I walked in Jack in the Box with my mom, and she said, hey, she needs to get a job. And she's tall, so she's old enough to get a job. So I started working when I was 13 years old, and I never not worked since I was 13 years old. At the time, I was in the 9th grade because I started school early. And so in 9th grade, I worked full time, and I rode the city bus to school 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back every single day so that I could get a high school education and I can work and make sure that I could take care of myself. That was the start of my solo journey. I didn't really have a desire to go to college at all. The only reason I ended up going to college is because when I was in 11th grade, someone came to the school and they said, hey, there's a program called Upward Bound. Anybody familiar? Upward Bound was at Arizona State University. I'm from Phoenix. And so I said, okay, well, I guess maybe I can stop working on Saturday mornings and make my way to Upward Bound so I can be a part of this program. That program allowed me to at least go on a college campus to develop some type of a desire to want to go to higher education. Otherwise, all I really wanted to do was work. Like, I didn't really have a vision for what a longer term future can look like with a college education. And so that was the beginning of my solo journey. When I say work-school imbalance, it's because of that. It is really hard to balance education and education success while you're working. I say that to say, don't be too hard on yourself if your work and the things that you have to do outside of school are impacting your school achievement. Do everything that you can to be successful in school, and also like grace yourself to know that having a little bit of imbalance in that area is okay, and it's actually going to prepare you for a future of competing priorities that you have to figure out how to navigate. One thing I talked to my staff about last week is just this idea of work-life balance. Work-life balance is something a lot of people think about as 40-hour work week, right? When you think about work-life balance, it's like, okay, when you're off work, you need to be off work. And you need to focus on your other things, focus on your family, focus on the things that really matter to you. I don't see work-life balance that way. I think even if you work 4 hours a day, if you hate what you do, it's gonna be really hard to have balance. Everybody outside of your workday is gonna feel that you hate what you do all day. But if you work 12 hours a day and you really love what you do, there's a rich opportunity for you outside of the workday that you can still go and experience and enjoy the people you love and do the things you love to do because you enjoy the work. So remember that as you think about going into your future, it's not just choosing something that is available to you. It's about remembering that you're the resource and you can go in and find a career and find an opportunity that you actually love doing. Talent where? I talked about this a little bit earlier with these two students. And, you know, a lot of times people say, well, what are you good at? And I'll say, well, I don't know. I can't swim, skate, bowl, fish. I'm not good at athletics. I'm not a great dancer. There's like so many things I'm just not good at. But I'm really good at talking to people. And so for me, I had to figure out a way to embrace that as a talent. And then it became, okay, not only are you good at talking to people, you're good at solving problems. And then it became, not only are you good at solving problems, you're good at looking strategically into the future of a problem and analyzing the situation to say how you can avoid that problem in the future, right? We call that risk mitigation from a business perspective. So there's a larger element of thinking about your talents outside of the silo that they're really small. They're actually really big when they're on their own. And so that's another component. The next thing is the map. A lot of people say, well, I live in Houston. They say, well, how did you get to Houston? You lived in Phoenix. How did you make your way to Houston? Well, when I graduated from college, I picked a spot on a map. And I put my dishes and my towels and stuff in a little U-Haul trailer. And I attached that on the back of my old SUV. And I drove 40 miles an hour for 2 days to get to Houston. And then I got a little studio apartment, and that's where I started my adulthood. I just knew I was ready. My mom thought otherwise, but I knew I was ready. And so that's what I did. And it really was the beginning of a journey. And I made, you know, a lot of times when you think about life, and I don't know about you guys, I don't know the different ages in the room, but when you're 15, you think 18 is an adult. And then when you're 18, you're like, okay, I still got a lot of growing up to do. Maybe when I'm 21, I'll be ready. Then when you get 21, you're like, okay, I still feel like I'm kind of a kid. Like I need help in this journey. I still need advice. I need guidance. And so for me, I think that's what a lot of the journey was, right? It was still me figuring out, okay, I still need guidance. I still need help with some of these things. And so that's where the family came in. I didn't have a lot of family in Houston. But I ended up making a family. I got married. I had 2 kids, and I was still a kid. I put it in the kid part because to me, I was still a kid. I was 24, 25 years old, getting married and starting a family. There were still a lot of questions I couldn't answer. There was still a lot of growth I had to do. There was still a lot of me assessing me to say, hey, if you're not happy in something, or if it's something that doesn't make you feel good, it's okay for you to make a different decision. I didn't really know what that meant, right? And so I do think it's really important as you experience relationships, definitely remember that you don't have to wait until you have a lot to lose or too much to lose before you choose what's best for your life and for your future. Right? That's really, really important. And it's something I had to learn to me, at 24, was the kid phase. right? The professional phase came next. And let me just say this. I enjoyed every step of the kid phase. There's not like regrets as a part of the kid phase. There are just some learning moments that I think are really important to make sure that they're translated in this particular audience. The kid phase. Then it was the professional. I decided I wanted to go and start teaching. I had a degree. I was already kind of doing some work, because when I moved to Houston, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a job already, nothing. And so I started going to what's called the Work Source. It's like a place that you can go and look for jobs every day. I would get up every morning, get there at 8 a.m., leave at 5 p.m., and search for jobs every day. And so eventually I got a job, but I was working at the county courthouse. I had my degree, but that's not really what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I never want to be a teacher. At the time, that's what I thought. But I knew I loved kids, and I always wanted to work with kids. I just didn't want to make them sit in a desk. And so I became a teacher, and I became a different kind of teacher. My kids were running all over the classroom, doing all types of things, doing projects, having fun. And after about a couple of months, I said, well, I really want to do some things different. And that's where it came the free agent mentality. The first thing is, whatever job you get, remember, you're not getting the degree you get for that job. We lose that so often, and it's easy to lose it because the job is the one that has the benefits. They're paying you your paycheck. They're giving you all these different opportunities, sometimes even visibility. Never forget you're a free agent. Never. That never changes, right? You don't have to be in one place for too long. Remember, you can switch courses for whatever reason, and always present yourself as a free agent, no matter what the environment is or how much you love where you are. Innovate unapologetically. When I got in the classroom, after a couple months, I called Sony. I said, hey, I knew kids loved games. So I called Sony. I said, hey, I have a classroom filled with kids, 6 different class periods, 30 kids a day, 30 kids in each class period, and I would love to do something with education with you guys. What are you doing in education? We'd love to take that on and do it. I didn't wait and get permission first. I called them. They gave me 20 PlayStation 1 devices for my classes, and then my class ended up being a model for technology integration in 2008, at a time when people were still trying to figure out how to integrate technology into classrooms. This was this idea of innovate apologetically. When you go into a role, don't wait for someone to tell you what's next. Start thinking about what's next, start planning for what's next, and start actually taking action for what's next. Front and center. Don't hide behind a curtain when you innovate. When you're doing something, make sure people can see you. Visibility is critical. It is critical at every stage of your career, and it's especially critical at the stage that you're in right now. Whatever you are doing, you should be associating that with a personal brand. That personal brand should be associated with high-level visibility. I started later. I didn't start my visibility journey until maybe 35 years old. Think about the age that you're at now, and think about the opportunity for you to do that. Brand affiliation doesn't have to be a contract. It doesn't have to be something that's so formal, right? It could be you saying, hey, I want to be a part of creating a marketing strategy for Angel Soft toilet paper. And I'm a consumer. I hate to use toilet paper. I could have used anything. And I'm a consumer, right? And now suddenly you're writing some type of a marketing story, and you're tagging Angel Soft in that story, and you're taking a picture with their product. That doesn't require permission, right? Stop waiting for people to give you permission and come up with a plan of how you can increase your visibility through brand association. The brands are already there. Highlight the brands that are important to you and start associating yourselves indirectly with those brands. Indirectly, directly, tagged with content that's actually important and meaningful to those brands. You don't have to be a brand ambassador in order to take yourself into front and center. Have a tactical vision. It's great to have a vision, but make sure there are tactics associated with the vision. If there's something you want to build, if there's an area you want to grow in, make sure that you have tactics associated with that. So, for example, you may have a goal of overcoming generational curses, right? I want to overcome generational curses. I want to overcome things that for years and years, I plagued my family. No one else has a PhD. No one else has, X amount of money saved. No one else is living off of the interest residuals of their money as opposed to living from paycheck to paycheck. Those are things I want to do. I want to have a 6-figure salary. I want to drive X type of car. I want to have a certain type of home, or I want to own multiple, real estate. Those are all things that you want to do. What are the tactics associated with that? And then create the timelines. A lot of times you think of it as goals. For me, I always call it tactics, because that's what it is in the business world. And I want I want to be able to run my life like the business of Keisha. That's important to me, right? I want to have ROI for everything that I'm doing. I want to make sure that there's impact for everything that I'm doing. I want every conversation to be meaningful. I know when someone says that they're willing to give me their time, I translate that into how much money they're giving me. If there's a marketing director that I met that I'm like, oh my God, if I can get 10 minutes on their calendar, that would mean so much. I'm not going to show up for that 10 minutes unprepared, because that 10 minutes, if I break down their salary, might actually be worth $500. They're investing $500 in 10 minutes in me. Why would I show up without being prepared? Why wouldn't I have questions to ask? Why wouldn't I have goals for the conversation? Why wouldn't I have a strategy for follow-up to maintain the relationship? It's all about making sure that everything you're doing, there's a tactical vision behind the conversations you're having. Proposals and positioning. I've never gotten a position or a promotion into a role that already existed, ever, in my entire career. It's not because I didn't go to LinkedIn Jobs or all the places that you go to look for jobs. I've done those sites. I've applied for those roles. I just never really aligned from a strategic perspective to things that already existed. When I get in a role, I'm always thinking about how can we innovate this role to be something better? How can we innovate to be something bigger? What else can the vision be that can align with the corporate strategy or with the strategy of the organization? For example, I was in a school district. The school district I was leading, I led curriculum and technology innovation in a school district of 70,000 students. I knew that there was an issue with graduation rates. I also knew there was an issue with number of teachers that were available on campus, with accessibility to services. And so I chose to build a virtual school. I didn't know how to build online courses at the time. This was years and years ago. This was before the pandemic. And so I taught myself how to code. I taught myself how to set up an open source learning management system. I stood that up. I attended several conferences, met other thought leaders in the space who had already done it. And I built a full virtual school that graduated 4,000 students concurrently every single year. And then I got to another point, the business. I opened my own business, but that happened kind of by accident a little bit. I woke up one morning and I was working in the school district, and I got there really early. I got to my office at like maybe 5:30 a.m. And I sat down, and I remember, back in the day, like people, I would hear like older people say, God talks to me all the time. And I would be like, he don't talk to me. He's been quiet in my life. And that morning I got there and it was really quiet. It was quiet like, when the choir sings and then suddenly they stop and like the silence is like real loud. It was like that kind of quiet. And I said, I was just so, my creativity was so stifled. And I just looked and I said, God help me figure out what's next for my life. And I literally heard him say, today's your last day. And I said out loud, no, it's not. Because at that point, I was a single mom, right? Like I had bills, responsibilities, a home. I had all these things to take care of. Like I can't just say goodbye. Like I can't leave, and plus, honestly, I'd moved up in that district so quickly. They had created these roles for me. I had a whole wing of a building dedicated to this virtual school and all the work and my own vision. So I was married to it. So I had to remind myself of what? I'm a free agent. I forgot. I was so busy building and so committed to this is my baby It wasn't. It belonged to that organization. As you're building, as you go out in your careers, you will get highly invested in projects, products, marketing materials, the accomplishment that you've built. You are still a free agent. Never forget that. And so from that moment, I ended up leaving the school district. By noon that day, everything was packed up in the car, and I got home, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Like, I don't have a plan. And I remembered, if I can do what I did there, anywhere else, if I can do it there, I can do it anywhere. And I knew I had a very special skill set that everybody did not have. In a matter of 24 hours, I set up an LLC, I built a website, I set up a bank account online, I created business cards, I set up a profile, an online presence for a company, and within 2 to 3 weeks, I had a first contract of over $100,000. Leveraging my own skill set that I had committed to an organization that I forgot that I was a free agent. And in the moment, it took me to be so uncomfortable to actually create movement in my life so that I can go out and build somewhere else. That's why it's so important not to lose the momentum that you're not getting this degree for any particular organization. You're getting your education for yourself. So when you go commit to an organization, you are the gift to them. So continue to grow in the roles, but remember, you need to get as much as you can so that you're increasing your value every step of the way. That's time under tension. Connections. How did I get the first contract, right? Every time I went to a conference, every time I interacted with someone, I didn't just say, oh, I'm networking. Today I'm here. What are you gonna do with this time and this opportunity to connect, right? The question is, how do you do it? It's not just, oh, when you go, you see a person, you're like, oh, I went to that thing, or I had that experience. One thing I shared earlier, it's like, you guys ever see like the grandpa that shows up at the high school graduation with his old jersey on from high school, and he's talking about how he made that one touchdown way, way, way back? You have that, and then you have the person who talks about how they went to high school with so-and-so who's now in the NFL, and they have a business partnership, and they're driving things forward, right? And they've been able to materialize that partnership. No, maybe he didn't make it in football, but he made it in business. There is an opportunity, a unique opportunity, that you can continue to identify and hone in on your talents based on what life presents you. And that's what happens through connections. For me, every single connection I make, every online call that I get on, there's not one that I don't go on LinkedIn before that call and connect with that person and send them a message. I'm excited for the call today. Please consider me an extension of your team. There's not one that I don't follow up, and I run at least 20 meetings every day. Mayors, governors, state superintendents, commissioners. There is not one, even their assistant, I don't care who's on the call. Every single person on that invite will hear from me. And guess what? That now becomes a log, a repository that I've talked to you before. We've met before. Now I can go to LinkedIn in my inbox and I know every single person I've ever met with, right? Then it becomes a nurture campaign, because you can't just stop there. This is where I'm talking to you about the tactical approach of how you're interacting with people and how you're creating connections. Let's talk a little bit about the fear fallacy. I'm gonna come back to the LinkedIn piece. And it's actually not specific to LinkedIn, but it's just nurturing the connections and what that needs to look like. The fear fallacy. You're gonna encounter fears when you're going into business. It's only natural. You're gonna encounter those fears. But the question is, are the fears actually real? And I think as you're going into business, it's always important to be able to weigh where your fears are coming from. Are the fears coming from your own inability to believe in yourself and what you're able to accomplish, or are those real fears that you need to start to mitigate for and create some planning for? So always try to look down the road But don't let the infancy of a project pull you out of your ability to see like the future of what that project could be, okay? The infancy is the important piece, and there are connections that are constantly happening in the infancy of a project that you won't be able to see materialize until you get further down the road. So when I went back after I left the school district and I reached out to that one lady on the way to a conference years before in Boston that asked me to go run with her at 5 a.m. when I'm not a runner, and I said yes while we're on the bus from the airport, I just happened to run into this lady. That is the lady who signed the first contract for me to have over $100,000 in revenue in the first month of my business opening. Had I told her no that day, I would have never known what it would have became. Even had I told her yes and not maintained a relationship with her and nurtured the relationship, it still would not have become anything. So there are opportunities and points of opportunity that you have to be able to recognize. The next thing, and I mentioned existing talent, so taking your existing talent and turning that into business opportunity, monetizing the business opportunity. The next thing is value versus cost, right? When I first started doing proposals, I didn't know how to price myself. I kept saying like, oh man, I don't want to go in and I'm going to these people with the wrong price. I don't want to bring them a proposal for $25,000 and they look at me like, what? Like, why would I give you $25,000 to do this thing? And then I had a business owner that I was sitting with and I was pitching a project idea to him because he wanted to build an academy. And I wanted to help him do that. He wanted to help students prepare for higher level exams and things all over the country. And so I pitched it to him and we were talking and I said, one business leader to another, how do you know how to price yourself? He said, the one piece of advice I can give you is to remember that if you're good, you're never too expensive. He said, if you're good at what you do, and you know you're going to be able to drive the outcome all the way through to the end, there's not a number you can put in front of me that's too much, right? Because I know I'm going to have a return on whatever investment I put into you. And within the next month of the business, that was another $200,000 contract that came through, right? And they just continued to come because then I wasn't afraid. Then I said, well, if they say no, this is really a benefit. I'm bringing a benefit. I'm bringing value to them, right? And so when you're pricing yourself as an entrepreneur, if it's something, even if it's a sideline thing you're doing, don't feel like you need to down price yourself because somebody is not going to say yes to you. Make sure you present the value appropriately. That's important. If you don't know how to articulate your value, nobody's going to accept your cost. The brand, that's the next piece of this. Because I had a very profitable business. I went back to the school district. I hired 6 of the teachers that were there to come and work for me. The business was doing great. We were a couple years in, and then the brand and T-Mobile said, hey, we want you to come and help us build an education segment. We don't have one at all. And you were one of our first education customers when you were in the school district. Can you help us? And I had to go back and have like some soul searching, right? Because in my mind, I'm saying, I have the freedom of being an entrepreneur. I have my own company that I can continue to grow and nurture. I am committed to that company. I'm a free agent, right? I can go where I want. I can do what I want. I can expand my brand how I want to. And then I said, this is a Fortune 40 organization that I can attach my name to. People don't buy things from organizations. They buy things from people. That was the best decision that I ever made. T-Mobile allowed me to be the face of education for the organization, being in every Project 10 Million commercial, having an opportunity to build an education story and segment, creating products and solutions and bundles, meeting people from Microsoft and Google and Lenovo and all these huge organizations. Could I put a price on that? It didn't matter what my salary was, right? I negotiated and make sure y'all do that too. But that was not the important piece. There were some intangibles that were priceless that came from that unique opportunity that led to this moment, right? And multiple moments like this. T-Mobile is a lot of the reason that 4 million people have read my articles. It's a lot of the reason that I'm able to speak all over the world, right? And it's because I made a decision. Yes, my business was important to me, but this is how people think when they're ready to purchase something, right? This is the part that you need to start investing in right now, if you're not already doing it. And if you are already doing it, refine it so that you're doing it the correct way, that you can continue to grow, you can continue to function as a thought partner. What is your focus area, right? Becoming an industry thought partner made all the difference for me. Becoming a corporate strategy leader made all the difference. Being an entrepreneur is just a part of that as a brand story. It means that I have an expertise and I understand how to build a business, but within corporations, within government, no matter what job you get at this point, those jobs are going to expect that you are showing up as an owner in that role that you're in. Also, brand and business consulting, writing, and speaker. We'll go to the next. So let's talk a little bit about the work that I've done. So I lead a $10.7 billion initiative to bridge the digital divide. What does that mean? Provide free internet access, devices, and connectivity to students in K through 12th grade for 5 years, right? You sign up for the program, we ship you a free device, and you have 5 years of connectivity. So when you go into higher education, you still have access to that connectivity. And we're doing that for up to 10 million students across the country. That's a really phenomenal commitment. How does that align with my mission, right? And why is this even important? When you're going into your future, don't you want to do something that you actually care about? Like I can go and like sell car parts, but I'm not passionate about that. I care about kids. I care about students. I care about the learning journey. I care about entrepreneurship and business. I care about, sitting and figuring out products and solutions and programs and driving things that actually impact communities. The last 2 weeks, all I've been doing is providing connectivity for students and communities that were impacted by the wildfire. That brings me joy. I can work on it all night, I can do it all weekend, and I still feel like I have work-life balance because I love it. That's what's important as you think about what your future career is going to be. And that's not a linear journey. You might start in a classroom and end up in a corporation. That's okay too. Plan for that. Make sure that you're ready to have measurable impact. We've connected 6 million students, over 5,000 entities. So when I show up and I know that measurable impact. It's really good, and I'm gonna talk about your elevator pitch. But it's really good to be able to have an elevator pitch, but it's even better if you know your numbers, right? For me, in every single interview that I do with a professional, I listen to if they know their numbers or not. Your numbers are so important. When you're talking about the school you go to right now, you don't walk in and say, I go to North Carolina A&T University. I go to a university that has X number of students, manages X billion dollars of budget every year, and has X amount of strategic impact on the future of our country. I'm a member of this organization. That's how you articulate the value when you walk in a room. It's not just naming the entity. What does that mean? What does that even mean? When I walk in and say, I work for T-Mobile, what are you gonna assume? I sell phones. You're probably gonna ask me, can you fix my phone? I don't have good service over there on the west side. Can you help me out? I probably can, but that's not the part of the conversation, right? If I walk in and say, my name is Dr. Keisha King. I lead a $10.7 billion initiative to bridge a digital divide, and I run a $600 million portfolio with teams across the United States. Does that make you feel like I own something? It does. Your story and how you introduce yourself makes all the difference to how much value people give to the conversation they're about to have. Market research. Understand the industry that you're in. Make sure that you know how to do total addressable market, and it shouldn't take you a long time. If you leverage AI and automative tools, automation, you should be able to do market research pretty quickly. So make sure that you have the ability and the skill set to always know how to do market research. Super important. And then value creation. Sometimes there's value, but until you do a proposal and you're able to show the value, sometimes people don't know it, right? And so even for me, when I'm building programs in this big organization, sometimes I gotta convince some people that it's actually important. Make sure that you know how to do value creation as you're going into your next career, or even if you're doing something for yourself from an entrepreneur perspective. AI and automation. This piece is really important. If there's one thing that's really important in corporate America right now, it's AI and innovation. If you look at every single business, you look at the direction that they're going, you look at what they're focused on, they are focused on the efficiency of operations across their team members. The only way that they're going to have efficiency is to have a skilled workforce. The only way they have a skilled workforce is to bring in folks like you who are comfortable in using the tools enough where you can create efficiency. Note that I said, not that you've been introduced to them, right? So you can list stuff on your resume all day. You can say, oh, I'm familiar with Power BI and I know these tools and I know. How do you use your data analytic tool to influence the business and make decisions? That's the piece that you need to be able to put together. And that's where AI and innovation is so important. AI can help you, but it can't be you, right? It's here to help you, but it can't be you. You have to understand the fundamentals of prompting and interacting with the AI tool so they can give you the output you want. If you have a group of students, and this is something I always tell teachers, because teachers, professors, any educator, they always have a little bit of fear around AI. Like, oh, don't use AI, make sure you don't use that, ward it off. If I asked a group of students right now, I'll ask each of you, if you had access to use AI to solve any problem in the world, anything, what would it be? Just think in your mind for a second. What would it be? What would you solve? Did anybody say I'm gonna cheat on my English paper? No. I can't in my mind fathom how, from an educational perspective, that's the fear. That is not a realistic fear, because when I told my 12-year-old son that you probably shouldn't use AI so much, in doing your research and thinking about the things that you're trying to do. And he said, well, why? I said, well, what are you going to do when you don't have access to those tools? And you actually have to think for yourself and figure the things out for yourself. He said, in what situation would I not have access to these tools? Is he wrong? He's not wrong. So why are we creating environments where when you go into the real world, you're expected to leverage these tools every day, all day. But when you're in any other world, you don't have the opportunity to leverage these tools all day, every day. There's a gap there, right? So access, innovation, scale, and efficiency. I'm gonna move really fast through these last pieces. Emerging roles, making sure that you understand what's coming so that you can create roles and opportunities for yourself. Market research, go beyond the ask. Yes, you're in a role and they have a list of things they expect you to do. Be willing to go beyond that, right? Every time I've gotten a yes on creating a role for myself, it's because I was already doing the role that I asked to be created, right? So be okay with going beyond the ask. Needs assessment, know how to do that, know how to go in and look at your team and look at the department you're working with and help the leaders figure out areas for efficiency. And then proposals and positioning. The last thing is ownership. This piece, again, critically important. Presentation, strategic insight, brand visibility, and expertise. Walk in the room like you own something. Introduce yourself like you own something. You're not just introducing yourself with that old school elevator pitch. Hi, my name is this. I'm in school doing this. Here's what I want to be when I grow up. How can you help me? No. What are you actually a part of? Look at the bigger brand story and how you can introduce yourself. I gave you an example with the university. I gave you an example with T-Mobile. Look at the things you're involved in and create your story that's bigger. What is the value of the whole organization? You're an owner. Yes, you're a small piece, but when you walk in, you're not a small piece. Introduce yourself as you're an owner of the big picture, of the big story, right? And that's what you need to know before you get in the elevator with the CEO. Ask questions about them. And then last but not least, there's one more that I want to and it's just the tangibles. This is a slide that you might want to hold on to because it's kind of like what actually can you do? But personal brand, make sure that you are multi-niche, right? I know a lot of people are like one niche, stay in one focus area. It's okay to have multiple. Just make sure you know what you're talking about. Brand affiliation I spoke to, consistency. Go every single day on, whatever you're going to be doing. Make sure that you show up. Have a digital footprint. Your digital footprint should say something about the direction you're going and what you want to do. Create content. Do it now. LinkedIn has a newsletter. I don't care if it's 10 bullet points, advice on how to be a good student. You should have your own newsletter started and you should be publishing there at least once a week. At least once a week. Mentorship. Be scrappy. Don't walk up to professionals and say, hey, can you be my mentor? Walk up to them and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes? I'd love to learn more about you, right? And we're outcome driven. So every time you meet with us, tell us about the outcomes that we impacted in your life, and we're gonna wanna continue to meet with you. Now we're indirectly your mentor. You don't have to ask. Picture perfect. Make sure that when you're pitching, it makes sense and it's aligned to who you're talking to. Focus on relationships. I know it's intriguing to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I need $1,000 to support this conference that we're doing. Build the relationship and they'll ask you what help you need. Nurture tactics. Make sure you know how to nurture relationships. When you're building a network, also create an email distro. Put those folks as a part of your email distro. Send them something once a year. Send them something once a quarter. Hey, how you doing? Here's what I'm working on. Let me tell you a little more about my journey. I've made some updates to my resume. If it's something that you think stands out, let me know. You're not asking for anything. You're just nurturing the relationships as a part of your network. That's really, really important. There's a reason why some people send out Christmas cards every Christmas with their whole family on it. It's not because they care so much that you're looking at their kids. It's because when you make a high-level decision about the future for that individual, you're going to see more than just them. You know you're impacting the dog in the picture. You're impacting those kids. Before I make a decision to let somebody go on my team, I'm gonna think twice about the person who sent me 10 million different Christmas cards with their whole family on it. Why don't we do that? We have this culture of privacy. There are some elements where you can go ahead and break that culture just a little bit. Overcoming imposter syndrome. Give your imposter syndrome a name. It's a voice in your head that tells you what you can't do, where you can't go. This person's better than you. Give her a name, him, her, a name. Mine is named Sarah. And I tell Sarah, no, Sarah, that's not the case. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna do really, really great, Sarah. I don't wanna hear that, right? Give them a name and start having a voice back. Self-awareness, and then again, voices. Future planning, strategic private access. I talked about that with the Christmas cards. Be strategic. Give people little glimpses of who you actually are. Be consistent, daily learning. Show up to give, and then infancy is okay. I say show up to give. I used to show up to speak to get. I used to show up to speak because I wanted to be seen, or I was trying to fulfill something inside of myself that I needed to get, right? I want you to follow me. I want you to go read my article. I want you to know more about my story. Now, every single time I show up to speak, I ask myself, what do I have to give? What do I want to give? What do I want to leave? What impression do I want to leave, right? And so be the gift and change your mindset around what you want to give, what you want to get, to what you actually want to give every single time you walk in a room, okay? And the last thing, go ahead and go to the very last slide. The last thing is, he helped me out a little bit. On Instagram, there's a place where you can post a question. I know we're not gonna have a whole bunch of time to do like Q&A today, but I did wanna make sure you all had an opportunity to send me a question personally, and I'm happy to take some time and answer those questions for you. All right, so connect with me. Feel free to send a message. If you have a question, if there's something that's just like, I got to talk to somebody about it, I'm happy to talk to you about it. And I appreciate your time today. And please consider me a part of your network. I say that all the time to a lot of people, and it doesn't always happen. But know that I'm 100% committed to your success, and I'm excited about the future for you, okay? Thank you guys so much. Good.
First, I would like to thank you for being here, taking the time out of your day to be here, and thank you for coming and investing in A&T. And to sharing nuggets of wisdom with us. We will never be able to pay you for this, so we would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation.
I'm not getting paid?
Here you go.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name is Zuri Yearwood. I'm a junior business management and entrepreneurship student. The most impactful thing that Dr. King shared today was about the fear fallacy. As an emerging entrepreneur myself, sometimes I find it hard to battle the fear of maybe being seen, putting myself out there. And she just highlighted differentiating the difference between fears that are made up in your head and fears that will help you deter from risk in the future. So I got to talk with her a little bit more about that afterwards, and I feel like I'm better prepared to move forward with my business ideas. So it was a really amazing session today. So yes, I am currently a hairstylist, but currently I am working on creating my own natural hair care line. So I plan to launch that business before I graduate college. So currently I'm in the product development phase. I think these sessions are extremely valuable. Not only do we get to hear from such amazing people who have done such successful things within their career, but we also get a chance to speak with them face to face, ask them questions, and I think this is a really unique opportunity that you don't get to have at other colleges. Okay, you guys, Closing Bell happens every third Thursday of the month. Please, please, please come. It is an amazing opportunity to not only connect with your peers, but to connect with industry professionals. We're here at 4 to 5 every third Thursday of the month. Thank you.
The most impactful thing that I gained from the session today was learning the importance of growth and value. When it comes to providing value, whether it's in entrepreneurship or whatever company it is, it's always understanding what value can you bring to the table. And the growth aspect of how can I grow myself to provide the right amount of value to this company or to my business. So I say that was the most important thing, because I feel like a lot of students, we do lack the understanding of value and the understanding of growth, on how we have to better ourselves each and every day to be the person that we would like to become. And that all comes through the process of creating value. When we're coming to the Closing Bell speakers, we get an outside perspective of what life is outside the classroom, what life is outside of doing homework, outside of studying. We also get the mindset, the skills that we need to be successful in our own terms of success. Each Closing Bell speaker that we have had come over the past years, they are successful in their own area, in their own degree of success, or what they define as success. So if we're able to take their failures and their insights and the mindset we need to be successful, we can get there faster than how fast they got there. So I believe that coming to the Closing Bell Speaker Series provides a lot of value to students and also to faculty, just understanding and just hearing from somebody else's experiences, their success and their failures.